What's up, nerds? Welcome to the booth here with me, Riley Knight, joining me, Eduardo Sage-Gallic, and you've just heard the second round of quarters previewed by the team on the desk, and we are ready and raring to go. Eduardo, Sparks are certainly going to fly a couple of curveballs when it comes to the decks that we've seen in the top 8, and we've got a wide array of powerful modern decks on display this quarterfinal.
Right, we got some blasts from the past, kind of from the last tournament. Hardened Scales was one of the top performers in London, but with Karn the Great Creator, went down to only 4 copies in the tournament, but 1 in the top 8. The other deck, Hogaak, a few more copies, let's say.
A few more copies around the tournament, but only 1 making it to the top 8 there in the hands of the young Dane superstar, Martin Müller. Great to see him back on top of his game. It's going to be an interesting matchup. I got the chance to catch up with Müller and get his perspective on how this one was going to shake out. And as Martin Müller mentioned on the desk, he's not feeling super optimistic about the numbers on a pure percentage chance, but hey, this kid's a lucky kid. He's going to try to get it done here against his opponent, but we will see how things shake out as these two players get underway here. Martin Müller against Alvaro Fernandez Torres. Hardened Scales on the left and kicking things off.
Hardened Scales on the left.
With that namesake marquee card. That's huge.
Yeah, the win rate of this deck with Hardened Scales on turn 1 or without it changes a lot. Mox Opal is in the deck. It is a little less important than usual since it's pretty hard to power 2 mana on turn 2, and there's a lot of 2-drops, but still an important piece. As mentioned in the preview, this matchup does favor Hardened Scales, especially if there's not too much interaction. That's key. Essentially, if the Hardened Scales deck can do its thing, it will tend to fly over the Hogaak deck, either with something like Hangerback Walker or Inkmoth Nexus plus Arcbound Ravager.
So a good start here for Fernandez Torres. He'll be very, very happy to be off like a greyhound. Let's see what he's got lined up for turn number 2. Arcbound Ravager the play. Classic 2-drop in those affinity lists. To be very happy with that, and especially as it comes in as a 2-drop. And Ancient Stirrings now off that Mox Opal. So Fernandez Torres is not here to muck around.
Right, it's a really powerful start, and it's worth noting that Arcbound Ravager, powerful card in the artifact-based decks, but with Hardened Scales, the fact that you had 2 counters per sacrifice really throws the math. And something like Walking Ballista can also double, since after all, if it attacks as a 10-10, you can deal 10 damage and remove 10 counters.
It's just, I mean, the numbers, the problem we run into when covering Alvaro Fernandez Torres here with this Hardened Scales list is we don't have numbers high enough. We haven't invented numbers that are big enough yet to cover how many counters can be put on these creatures. Martin Müller, however, the Dane is not going to go down without a fight. Stitcher's Supplier revealed, well, very little, just a Hogaak. So we'll see what his turn 2 play is here. It's a carrion feeder.
Yeah, so Martin here making a really important decision. There was the choice to either Assassin's Trophy the Arcbound Ravager while it doesn't have something to put the counters on, but decides instead to just enact the game plan, right? The plan is turn 2 Hogaak, and there's definitely the tools for that.
Much better stuff off the exit of the Stitcher Supply. They didn't make much of an entrance, but bloody hell made a big production of the exit there. Not only a Faithless Looting, also a Bloodghast that's going to come back right here. And this is better stuff from Martin Müller. He does need to get himself back into this game. He's a little bit behind, and his hand actually looks pretty decent. Gravecrawler, Hogaak, Assassin's Trophy for a bit of interaction. Typically, the Hogaak decks don't play too much interaction, but Assassin's Trophy in the main deck for Müller. Yeah,
and Assassin's Trophy, the fact that it can hit lands, extremely important. It's one of the ways you are the most likely to lose is a card like Inkmoth Nexus. So Martin deciding, you know what, how bad can it really get on turn 3? There's not an Inkmoth Nexus in play, which might have changed the decision on Martin's side, but without Inkmoth Nexus, and just Ravager decides to make as much power as possible.
And look at this. Talking about power, here is that Hogaak Arisen Necropolis on turn 2. How about an 8/8 Trampler? Now, Fernandez Torres certainly still in a very good position. Let's be very clear about that. Still a Hangerback Walker in hand, another Mox Opal as well, and of course a draw step for this turn. So both players really enacting peak game plan, peak performance from both these decks. You may not like it, but this is what it looks like.
Yeah. This is there's a lot of potential with the very few cards in hand. It doesn't look like much, but Llanowar Reborn, Hangerback Walker, and Arcbound Ravager can make a over 20 power Fopper kind of already with what's up.
What? 20?
At least. I haven't done the math. I believe it's close to 20.
Look, I will believe you, my dude. I will believe you. Numbers and I do not get along. I can tell you that much. That's why I've had such a lucrative and successful career.
With that graph counter, that's 2. That would mean a Hangerback Walker with 4 counter since you get 1+1 for the Hardened Scales, then the graph, so that's 1+1, so that's...
Wow, look at that.
this, yeah.
Out of nowhere, a 5/5 Hangerback Walker.
Yeah, just paid 4 mana for that. And that, if that was sacrificed, that'd be 5 Fopters. That would be, yeah, this is a ton of damage. This already threatens 20, and that's why you see this attack. Hogaak is very small in the face of this Arcbound Ravager.
I didn't think we were going to be in a position here where a kind of a fringe deck that we haven't seen too much business from in the last couple of months here, all of a sudden just running roughshod over this tournament
Martin has to
and
block.
over
This
the
is,
best
if
deck
Martin
in
doesn't
the
block,
format.
Martin has to block. If Martin doesn't block, he's dead.
That is that is just bonkers. Oh my goodness. So Hangerback Walker, of course, can produce a bunch of artifacts to sacrifice to the Ravager. We're going to see that happen right now. Hangerback Walker generates goodness knows how many Thopters. There they are, all 5 of them.
That's a good that's a good card, I'd say.
That's a pretty good card.
Yeah, and the best part about this is now the exactly.
I mean, chump blocking with Hogaak Arisen Necropolis on turn 3. What is going on? What is this game of magic?
It's too small. Hogaak is too small.
Too small. Yeah, that was. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that's the common criticism of Hogaak, right? That's the common criticism of Hogaak. It was printed with not enough power, not enough toughness.
Right.
Wow. So, an embarrassment of riches here for Alvaro Fernandez Torres, who is hitting his straps like there is no tomorrow. He's a hungry, hungry lad. He wants that semi-final appearance, and he's putting Martin Müller to the test here.
Yeah, and, you know, obviously we got excited because that was really cool. And I love this deck. But now we get to a more difficult part, which is what happens now. The issue is that Arcbound Ravager, while it is a large creature, can kind of easily... There's not too many blockers. Bloodghast, Carrion Feeder, Gravecrawler, they're attacking because they can't block. And Martin does have access to Assassin's Trophy.
Just all offense, no defense here from the Dane. Getting stuck in with those creatures. In hand, still some decent cards. Another Bloodghast, another Hogaak, and that critical Assassin's Trophy, Eduardo.
Yeah, and pretty much has to pass with it. If Martin Müller taps out here, it gets to a rough spot, since remember that the Arcbound Ravager can sacrifice itself, put the counters on a Fopter, and that would be definitely
take to the skies. Yeah, absolutely. A huge amount of counters can be chucked around there. So El Chumperino here for Fernandez Torres as we chuck a Thopter in front of that Carrion Feeder here. The Carrion Feeder, another, you know, not quite as robust, not quite as powerful as Arcbound Ravager, I would say, in this situation, but still able to grow to enormous size, especially with Gravecrawler.
Is that a new deck, Hardened Scales Carrion Feeder?
Oh, we're doing it. We're doing it. And there is a D12. Look at that. Barbarians around the world be very, very happy to see their weapon of choice brought out from the dusty catacombs of the D&D dice bags.
Well, we're rolling to classical D&D with a 20
That's it,
soon.
man. We're rolling great axes up in here. We're rolling great axes up in here with that Arcbound Ravager, a 12-12. Now, what's next on the docket for Martin Müller here?
First, a blocker.
All right, so that's not going to be any of those creatures on the battlefield, as you pointed out there.
Yeah, it seems like the plan is to get back Hogaak as a blocker.
All right. So landfall will trigger the Bloodghast, bring it back, of course, one more time.
And remember, with Martin has to keep Assassin's Trophy up. If Martin taps out in this spot, you end up in a situation where Alvaro can just sacrifice the Ravager and come in for flying damage. So you're going to see Martin have to keep 2 mana for most of the game up and block with the Hogaak.
All right, so Carrion Feeder eats itself somehow. Flavor Judge standing by to rule on that one, but that does mean that we can delve out this Hogaak Arisen Necropolis. Now, the problem is Müller is all in on this Assassin's Trophy to prevent himself from dying. But, I mean, it can do good work if it cleans up all of... I mean, if Fernandez Torres goes for it, he's going to get riggedy wrecked by Martin Müller and this Assassin's Trophy here.
That's quite possible. However, the main issue for Martin Müller is that Alvaro has a huge board advantage. There's absolutely no need in this spot to do anything but attack. And it's just the possibility of sacrificing Arcbound Ravager is big here.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's dominating. The threat of activation is absolutely dominating this board state, but Walking Ballista off the top, that's another way to push through damage. That is completely unconcerned by how many blockers that Müller has. We're going to see Walking Ballista come down here.
Yeah, and again, that means that Martin, for the rest of this game, can't really go below 2 mana.
No. No, he's locked in here because he's got to find an answer to what Fernandez Torres is chucking at him here. And with that Walking Ballista, with that Arcbound Ravager, it feels like Fernandez Torres kind of has all the exits covered.
Yeah, pretty much. As long all you need to do is keep going. At some point, Martin will run out of blockers.
That's right. I mean,
die.
Müller is the one here who has to find some way forward. Fernandez Torres, he can stick himself in on a cruise control, just blast down the highway. Yeah. Bruce Springsteen banging out the window there, having a great time.
These are the best spots with Hardened Scales. Essentially, you're not killing your opponent, but you're putting them in such a position that they pretty much lose. And the nice part about this Walking Ballista, one of the outs Martin had was to end of turn Assassin's Trophy the Arcbound Ravager, hope to draw another removal spell for the Thopter. But with Walking Ballista, there's
Doesn't
no way.
have it. Oh, my goodness me. A dramatic win there for Alvaro Fernandez Torres, who found on turn one that absolutely critical Hardened Scales, Eduardo, and that means that he was able to ride it to victory, Arcbound Ravager into the Hangerback Walker, and from there, just an absolute walk in the park.
Yeah, that was easily the demonstration.
It was exactly right. It was like an exhibition match where we, you know when you play a board game for the first time, it's like, we suggest this scenario to demonstrate the rules of the game. Well, we just got a masterclass in what Hardened Scales Affinity can do. Right now, my friends, we're going to take a quick break. You'll see us back here in Barcelona in just a few minutes, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you here soon, once again.
It's time for a Pack One, Pick One. I've got Jeremy Dezani here, who's going to crack this pack of Modern Horizons. So go for it. Lay out the cards for us to see. And while you're doing that, I'm going to ask you what your dream Pack One, Pick One card is.
I think Ninja is super good. I would like to open Fallen Shinobi. You know, he's a 5/4 rare. I think this card is like one of the most powerful card I've ever played in Limited, so it's just super good.
All right, let's get that energy for Fallen Shinobi here.
I take this.
Ooh, okay. Winds of Abandon here. I'm going to face the cards towards us, but Winds of Abandon, this card is amazing, obviously. Excellent removal. Is this just a windmill slam for you?
Well, I'm thinking between this and between the foil token, but...
Okay, well, maybe this will wheel. Maybe
yeah, no, well, if we forget the rare, because otherwise it's not interesting. So there's two uncommon here. Where's the third one? Oh, there. Yeah, I forgot it. Yeah, obviously I will take the rare. If the rare is not here, I probably go for Trumpeting Herd. This card is basically History of Benalia, but as a common, so it's also strong.
That's a great way to think about it.
But this is totally crazy card, right? So this is an easy pick for me.
Do you think that because this is white, it's giving you a second to guess? A lot of people have told me they don't really love white in Modern Horizons Limited.
Yeah, that's true. White is not the best color, but I guess this card is enough. Like, and you can still splash it. Like if you play it for 2, if you are playing a green deck, you search for 2 basic lands. So why not?
So for you, Trumpeting Herd, Winds of Abandon, strongest cards, easily.
Maybe first
Urza's Rage.
But
okay.
I still prefer this and this. Like if you think about it, you can put 2 tokens. If your opponent has Urza's Rage, you can kill 1 only.
Okay, so there we have it. Winds of Abandon. Hopefully we won't be forced to abandon our first pick from this pack. Yeah. I'm sorry, everybody, but there you go.
Joke, one more.
Jeremy Dezani, here's our Pack One, Pick One for Modern Horizons. And we're throwing cards everywhere.
And welcome back to the booth here at Mythic Championship Barcelona. We're well underway with our quarterfinals here, in through to quarterfinal 3 and 4. We just saw Hardened Scales Affinity get up in game number 1. And a very convincing performance against the premier deck in Modern at the moment, Hogaak taking an early loss.
Yeah, that was the key. In that game, the key turn was definitely turn 2 for me. There was a turn where Martin Müller had to make a decision. Do I deploy a ton of power, or do I go for Assassin's Trophy on Arcbound Ravager while it's innocent? And I'm not sure which one
becomes corrupted by this horrible world. Yes.
Right, and I'm not sure what the right line was there, honestly, but that was the key turn. Once Martin decided to deploy, the Hardened Scales plan went on top and took over.
That's the thing. I mean, Müller was in a position to put his best foot forward there, but ultimately, even that massive Hogaak start wasn't enough. We move now to our back table between Sean Gifford, the Canadian, and Juan José Rodríguez López, the hometown hero here from Spain, playing on home soil. Eldrazi Tron, Mono Red Phoenix. I'm sure people are familiar with the Eldrazi Tron list, but Mono Red Phoenix, a more, I guess, a newer addition to the Modern format with some key Modern Horizons cards.
Yeah, I think the key for the Mono Red Phoenix deck that's been important additions are those Lava Darts. The fact that you can get 2 spells in 1, and the Sunbaked Canyon. It's the fact that your deck just has increased velocity. Multiple cards in 1 is the name of the game for that deck. All
right, well, an unfortunate mulligan into oblivion here for Rodríguez López, but off to the races all the same now with Taylor Swiftspear. In she comes, in for 1. Now, Gifford, I got the chance to catch up with him. A lovely bloke, I have to say. Absolute rock-solid dude he is. and from Alberta. He's from Calgary in Canada. And he was saying that he liked his chance in this matchup because of one card in his main deck, Eduardo. And that card is Chalice of the Void. Chalice of the Void on 1 shuts off almost half of Rodríguez López's deck.
Yeah, and by the way, Sean taking first game, that's why you see Sean on the draw, even with the higher seeding. There's a big difference between having Chalice on the play and on the draw. On the play, it's obviously extremely good.
Busted. Oh, my goodness.
On the draw, there is a chance for Juan José to take over, but really the problem is that what you want to do when you play 1-drops with Prowess and Arclight Phoenix, a bunch of cheap spells. Those usually cost 1 mana. They fall foul of Chalice of the Void.
The thing is, even if Gifford can play a Chalice of the Void on the draw on turn 2, it's still going to do a lot of work. Not as much work as on the play for sure, but on the draw, it's still going to do good work. Because as I say, Rodríguez López, no answers to it main deck, and I think 26 of his cards cost 1 mana.
It's just...
I mean, it's an overwhelming majority of cards hit by a Chalice for 1 there.
Yeah, we talk about sideboard cards in Modern. Chalice of the Void is as close as you get to a main deck card that's played.
Now, Light Up the Stage is the next play here for Rodríguez López after that Lava Dart. And bit of a stinker there. The double lands off the Light Up the Stage. Of course, Rodríguez López can play one of them next turn. And in comes the Monastery Swiftspear for 3, thanks to those Prowess triggers. Does Gifford have the Chalice?
We know that.
All right, let's have a look and
Spoiler
see
alert.
what's up.
And
Chalice of the Void in hand, and I think this is just a slam dunk. There it is. Yes, Chalice for 1, going to lock Rodríguez out of half of his deck here. That is bad news for the Spanish player.
That is absolutely horrible news.
Oh, my
on top
goodness.
of that, Sean, it's not like Sean has Chalice for 1 and then, nothing and hoping for the best. No, there are Eldrazi's in hand, Matter Reshaper, Thought Not Seer, and you can clean things up once things are calm with Karn the Great Creator locking up the game.
Yep, Micah Synth Lattice coming out of the board, or really you can pick his poison and wrap this one up very cleanly indeed. I have to say, the winds of fortune blowing into the sails of Sean Gifford here. He's done his best to tilt off his opponents with 12 mismatched Urza lands. He called me over in the play area. He said, "Riley, come and have a look at this. You'll like this." I'm like, "Oh, Sean, mate, buddy, what do you got for me?" And he showed me 12 mismatched lands. So, again, thanks so much for that, Sean. Really helped me out with that. Definitely didn't put me on tilt for the rest of the day there. But look, right now, he's way out ahead here. And he can start, as you say, to deploy threats to the board. What do you like first?
Thought Not Seer.
Just get it out there. Eldrazi Temple powering out the 4-drop, a turn ahead of schedule.
You even get the Arclight Phoenix, which would be like one of the few threats that can be cast and is actually difficult for Sean to deal
actually
with.
relevant, right? Yeah, for sure. It's one of the ways that Rodríguez López might be able to get back into it, but he's not going to be able to. Off the top, just lands. Just the big old Lando Calrissian here for Rodríguez López, and he is falling out of Cloud City like there is no tomorrow. Sean Gifford can now deploy Karn. He can deploy a Matter Reshaper. He's got a Walking Ballista. He can do whatever he wants. He's absolutely running rings around his opponent here.
Yeah, and you are very correct, and he can kind of do whatever he wants. There's definitely an optimal play, but it kind of doesn't matter.
He could draw up a list of legal game actions to take, roll a die to decide which one, and probably still win.
We have Frank Carson on our team. Have a program.
Exactly. We could simulate a million iterations of this game, and Sean Gifford is going to win a lot of them.
Yes.
A lot of them, I would say. A very special configuration of cards going to have to come off the top of the Spaniard's deck here for him to get back into this. Gifford way out ahead, a stacked hand. In comes the 4-4. Rodríguez López down to 15 after that hit. But with a Chalice on 1, no relevant cards in hand, just a Sunbaked Canyon. And now a Matter Reshaper adds further fuel to the Canadian fire here.
By the way, one small bit of optimization, the Canyon was not sacrificed during Juan's turn. There's not many cards that can be drawn. One of the few is Arclight Phoenix. You wouldn't have the mana. So at that point, you might as well pass because you don't want to lose your card to a potential Thought Not Seer.
I mean, what are you drawing, a 1-drop? it's not going to be the best idea there. So away goes the Sunbaked Canyon. Let's have a look at what he can find off the top here. Oh, it's a 1-drop. Yep, a Lava Spike, not doing anything fast. Now, secret hidden mode on Arclight Phoenix. Look at this. It's a flying Volshock Berserker taking to the skies.
I love it. It's like a better Skylight and Engineer in Limited sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, gets in for 3. And look at this. Once again, all offense, no defense from Rodríguez López.
By the way, while this game does look pretty locked up, the truth is you're getting a preview of how Juan José can take over the game in future. Arclight Phoenix is the key card. It flies over the defenses of Sean Gifford. There's not much that Sean can do to get rid of it. So while Sean will be 2-0 up probably quite soon, Juan José will be looking to get a lot of Arc-like Phoenixes in play in those games.
And the other really important thing is that post-board, Rodríguez López can bring in 3 copies of a Braid and a copy of Shenanigans. And that is going to change the matchup quite significantly because that Chalice is no longer safe.
Right, exactly. Shrine of Burning Rage could also be good in some spots. Unfortunately, not very good against Karn, the great creator. And yeah, Saheeli, I don't think will do it. But yeah, Shenanigans, as you mentioned, absolutely excellent against the Chalice of the Void deck.
All right, in comes the Thought Not Seer. Gifford not risking his Matter Reshaper in face of that Swift Spear there, which can, of course, still be buffed by the Lava Dart, even though the Lava Dart won't resolve. The Prowess trigger will still be put in the stack. And now, just the casual 2 lands tapped to power out a 4-drop. Karn, the great creator, comes down.
Tron came around.
Yeah, we didn't even notice that. We didn't even notice. It's so irrelevant. It's just a little bonus here. And this, I mean, this is a key difference between Eldrazi Tron and regular Tron, right? Because Eldrazi Tron is much less all in on getting and keeping Tron. Now, we see Ensnaring Bridge. So Sean Gifford has decided he's not going to take any chances. He doesn't want to lose to that Arclight Phoenix. And I tell you what, a very well-chosen silver bullet from the sideboards there as Juan José Rodríguez López takes, well, the opportunity to pack up his card. That's it. That's all she wrote for game number 2 there. We move back to table A here. Martin Müller facing off against his opponent Alvaro Fernandez Torres. These guys already well and truly into game number 2. For those of you who missed game number 1, welcome. Welcome. By all means, welcome. We have Hardened Scales in the hands of the Spanish superstar on the left and the young Dane Müller on Hogaak. First time in 10 years, Eduardo, that we've had a Mythic Championship top 8 with 0 Americans. No one from...
In 10 years?
In 10 years. Last one, I think, was Worlds 2009.
Wow.
So, I don't know, maybe the jet lag? No, because a Canadian got in. Well, maybe Canadians are just, you know, from the Great White North, eh? Much tougher.
I guess, yeah, on that side of things.
Built of hardier stuff when it comes to transatlantic flights, it would seem. No, look, it's been a bad weekend for Americans, young and old alike. But this top 8 still stacked with very talented players, one of which, Martin Müller here, is, well, look, in a much better position than last time around, Eduardo.
Yeah, and a lot of this comes down to being on the play. The last game you saw Alvaro in a dominant position just because that Arcbound Ravager could attack and forced a chump block from Hogaak. When the reverse scenario happens, such as here, it's much harder. Hogaak comes down on turn 2. You're not really in a position to attack on turn 2 as the Hardened Scales player, so that means you're taking the hit. And whoever has that advantage tends to be very far ahead.
Yeah, so Müller really in a much better position in terms of how enacting his game plan has treated him here. We saw him opt to, you know, go for the big turn 2 Hogaak play last time. He was punished most severely for it as well by Fernandez Torres in game number 1. But it looks like the boot is on the other foot this time around. And that boot is also being squarely chucked the way of Fernandez Torres here. Martin Müller giving you an absolute hiding, giving you an absolute kicking he is, with a lone Thopter token. And in hand, I don't know, any of these cards of any interest to you here? Hangerback Walker, Arcbound Ravager?
There was one... those cards might be able to help. So by the way, last turn, the reason Hangerback Walker was at 1, you needed free artifacts for Mox Opal. So that's why Hardened Scales came after.
Right.
Now we have it in play. I believe Alvaro drew Walking Ballista. So you can make Hangerback Walker for X equals 1 and then get a 2 at 2 and then Arcbound Ravager. Arcbound Ravager can soak up the trample from Hogaak with what's in play. The question is, how do you deal with everything else?
Yeah, that's the problem, right? I mean, even if you take the Arisen Necropolis out of the equation, you've still got, what, 5 lethal attackers to deal with?
Yeah, and the Hangerback Walker with the Thopter in play can essentially deal with 3, not 5. That means that the Walking Ballista is essentially going to have to be the play. So I think the line, Alvaro is counting, but I think the line, we'll see what happens here, but the line might have to be something like Ravager plus Walking Ballista. Use the Ravager to essentially boost it as much as possible and ship the counters to Ballista, but I don't think the math works out here. Let's see. So the Thopter would be 4, plus the Darksteel Citadel and Mox Opal, that would be 8. The Ravager moving over to the counters would be 9. Ballista starts would be at 11. I don't think that's enough.
I mean, Müller sitting on a very healthy 19 here. He's got, again, this army of attackers ready to get it done. Alvaro Fernandez Torres, you can see, tilting off a little bit as he sits this maths exam. He's having a tough time crunching those numbers. Needs to put the choppers in. and get through him here, because I don't know, he's got to make a play. He's got to do something.
I think what will happen exactly is Alvaro can survive, but will have no board. Essentially, Ravager plus Walking Ballista should have the Ballista going to 11 if I haven't miscounted. So the Ravager would go to 8, and then a counter moving is 9. The Fopter and the Ravager can block Carrion Feeder and Vengevine, and then the Walking Ballista is at 11. However, there are free attackers free. You have to remove free counters. That would make it 8, which would trade with Hogaak, and then Alvaro will be in a horrible position.
Yeah, because he's got no board left. Exactly. That 1 point is going to make a lot of difference here. Keeping that Walking Ballista around might change things, but as it is, Fernandez Torres, a nightmare situation for him here as he finally finishes up his quick math. Well, it wasn't quick maths, was it? Very long maths there. But eventually takes the line that you suggested, Eduardo. Back to Martin Müller now. Stitches Supplier off the top. He is in a position to try to seal the deal here. Let's see him do some quick maths now. And Eduardo, I reckon he just wants to get in there.
Yeah, those maths are a lot easier.
A lot quicker. A lot quicker here for Martin Müller. Just turn him sideways. All offense, no defense. That's been the mantra of this matchup. And I'd love to see the Dane getting it done once again here.
Yeah, and just one attacker, like that was why Alvaro took the time, because just one more counter, one less attacker would have done the job.
Yeah, it would have made all the difference here. Here's that Stitches Supplier.
Oh, well,
okay, this is probably going to put things beyond a doubt. Double Vengevine flip from the Stitches Supplier. Another creature spell will do it, but no.
Yeah, Carrion Feeder, Gravecrawler. How about that?
Oh, yeah, that's easy. That's an easy way to do it. No creatures in hand apart from that Hogaak, but we can just see the Stitches Supplier sacrifice the Carrion Feeder, maximize that value, and all of a sudden, Martin Müller is just blasting off down the track, flames roaring out of his exhaust here. But no, it's going to be a Hogaak the Arisen Necropolis. Out of the hand here, casting it with the by convoking those 2 Bloodghast. There it is. Bring back those Vengevines. And no number of counters on the Walking Ballista is going to save Alvaro Fernandez Torres. We've evened things up 1-1 between the Spaniard and the Dane here, Eduardo.
Yeah, and it really came down to play draw in both those games. I think whoever was on the play there had a huge advantage. With little interaction in the matchup, this is what can happen a lot in the first game.
We move back to our second table here. Once again, Sean Gifford, the Canadian there, against Juan José Rodríguez López. Mono Red Phoenix in the hands of Rodríguez López and Sean Gifford with Eldrazi Tron. Seeing as we're hitting game number 3 with these 2 players now, we can start to talk about the sideboards. Now, a lot of one-ofs in the sideboard, and with Khan, the Great Creator, in the main deck of Gifford, completely unsurprising.
Yeah, exactly. This gives you access to this large toolbox. The key card of the sideboard is obviously Leyline of the Void. While it doesn't deal with the prowess creatures, it does make sure Arc-Light Phoenix isn't a problem, reduces the value of Faithless Looting. It is, however, not instrumental in the matchup, so typically I wouldn't see so many Leylines come in, probably not all 4, but 3 or 2 is a good number. And then the question is, which one-ofs do you want in the main deck? Spatial Contortion will definitely be coming in. What do you do with the rest is a big question for me. It's basically a question, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to draw the card naturally, or do you want to get it with Karn? Something like Wormcoil Engine might just be too slow, going Karn into Wormcoil, but cast on time might make it happen.
Right. If you could just get it out there, get an early Tron assembled there like that, and Wormcoil on turn 3.
Right, and Basilisk Collar is probably similar. The thing with Basilisk Collar is often you're going to want Chalice on 1, and also the Death Touch with Walking Ballista is the combo that's great in mid-range matchups. Not so much in this one. You really want the lifelink. That means making it go fast, so you have to main deck it probably.
Put that on a big creature and buffer that life total. Let's move on and have a look at Juan José Rodríguez López, what he's working with in the sideboard here. 3 copies of Abrade, 1 copy of Shenanigans, absolute slam dunk inclusions. Alpine Moon, however, how do you feel about this? It doesn't completely break up Tron, although it does impact the the amount of mana that the deck can put together.
Right, Alpine Moon can be pretty nice against the Tron decks. One problem here is that the parts you're worried about are not the big mana plays. They're more the mid-range creatures, Matter Reshaper, the removal. So Alpine Moon is kind of discarding a card a lot in this matchup. So I don't suspect we'll see that in post-board games. But as you mentioned, Shenanigans and Abrade, absolutely key cards. Shrine of Burning Rage in some scenarios could be okay, but you remember that Karn the Great Creator has a passive ability. So I think we're going to see free Abrades and Shenanigans try to stay lean and mean.
I think that's a great point as well, because you don't want to dilute your deck's game plan, right? Especially not a heavily synergy-focused deck like this that relies on, a lot of those pieces, a lot of cheap instants and sorceries to power out that prowess game plan. I mean, if you're drawing bigger, clunkier cards, if you're drawing Alpine Moons that don't put pressure on whatever, now you just stay the course course, man. Stay the course. Stick to what your deck is best at. Bring in those cards that are going to have an impact on you know, your opposing counterplay, and get across the line with, as you say, a lean, mean fighting machine.
Right, exactly. And by the way, even though it's not for this matchup, I thought Juan Jose did a really excellent job, including those Tormod scripts. The fact that they trigger prowess, cost 0, make them really nice in a graveyard-based matchup compared to something like Leyline of the Void, because you have quite a bit of card draw.
Yes.
So you'll light up this light up the stage and Faithless Looting, and it's a really good top deck. It's very fast and potent against the Hogaak deck. So I thought that was a really nice piece of technology.
Yeah,
for the deck.
I agree. You know, often a 4-drop stranded in your hand that you've drawn on turn 2, you feel like the world's biggest chump. But here, Rodríguez López with Tormod's Grip really plays in well with the theme of his deck.
Yeah, and I guess the closest card would be something like Saheeli Sublime Artificer, probably best in a control matchup. But against Eldrazi Tron, it is a card that can allow you to go wide. It is a little slow. It's possible that Juan Jose would board those in. I'm not actually sure whether it's a card you want or not, but it gives you it is an option.
All right, well, the players are in readiness for the next game here. Game number 3 between Sean Gifford and Juan Jose Rodríguez López. You can see the mono-red Phoenix player getting off to a slower start. No one drops so far. Gifford just 1 game away from a Mythic Championship semi-final appearance. There's an Urza's Mine. It's not a tower. Don't believe the lies. And an Expedition map, a turn 1 play here for Gifford. Now, there's the Shrine of Burning Rage. It has been brought in, Eduardo, despite its interaction with the Khan the Great Creator.
Yeah, and that might be acknowledgement that Khan the Great Creator can be easily killed with other spells or maybe shaved, so that's why you might see the Shrine of Burning Rage in a spot like this. By the way, we're maybe going to see one of the memes that Sam Party came up with, which is Eldrazi Tron's great because you can get Tron on turn free and go double Matter Reshaper.
Yeah. That's those are the hard-hitting heavyweight plays you want to make. 2 3/3s on turn 3 or 3 2s on turn 3. Whoo, baby. So Gifford now can crack that Expedition map, go and find the power plant, he's looking for the tower now, of course.
Yeah. That said, by the way, on Juan Jose's side, a really excellent draw in that gut shot. Juan Jose's hand was really clunky with multiple light up the stages and Arclight Phoenix. So now, you know, that gut shot, multiple light up the stages.
It changes things quite significantly here because turning that light up the stage from a divination to a 1-mana draw to effectively, there's a Blood Moon, and a Faithless Looting, so can't cast either of them, or can't cast the Blood Moon here anyway.
Yeah. By the way, Blood Moon was main deck. Super excellent card in this matchup because it means Thought-Knot Seer, Matter Reshaper, and to a degree Reality Smasher are uncastable barring a waste, so can really do some good work.
Really do a lot of work here as we see Faithless Looting cast off of that light up the stage and double Phoenix in the bin just like that. So Rodríguez López, much better stuff from him post-board now. Shrine of Burning Rage, a real clock, and now in they come. 6 damage in the air just like that. All of a sudden the Canadian is well and truly on the back foot.
Yeah, like that gut shot was so key.
And it's such an innocuous card, but it enabled that entire turn.
Yeah, without gut shot, nothing happens.
Nothing happens. Nothing happens.
There was a lightning bolt, but that wouldn't allow for these Phoenixes to come back. It wouldn't have been enough.
No, I mean, maybe Metamorpho, something like that, but Gutshot really got the job done here. Gifford is going to have turn 3 Tron, but is it enough? Because Rodríguez López is playing. He's living his best life. He is in the brightest timeline here possible. Double Arclight Phoenix. We've got a huge Shrine of Burning Rage as well. Blood Moon can come down next turn if he finds a land.
Yeah, this is just really, as you mentioned, an excellent draw, putting the pressure. The hand initially was really clunky, so getting that gut shot was absolutely key.
So Gifford finds the tower. He does have a mine. It looks like a tower. Its art description is even. Urza's Mine, brackets, tower, just to make things even more confusing. But
oh yeah, I hate that Urza's Mine.
Gifford will. He's got the maximum tilt value here, even if he doesn't have the maximum sort of, winning this game value at the moment. Although, you never count out a Tron player when they've got their 7 mana ready. Let's see what's on the top here. It's going to be a big one. Ooh, Reality Smasher.
Fortunately for Sean, that doesn't really do much. It's not. I'm pretty sure Juan will reduce Sean's life total to 0 rather than the reverse.
Yeah. I mean, it's looking that way, right? With the Shrine of Burning Rage here, even double Matter Reshaper, useless in the face of those Arclight Phoenixes who came back from the grave again. Oh man, what a turn! Gut shot, light up the stage, Faithless Looting, pitch 2 Phoenixes, bring them back. By the way, Shrine of Burning Rage on 4, just casually, right?
Yeah.
And now Gifford with a turn 3 Tron and looking to be left in the dust.
Yeah, it's pretty much, yeah. It's what's happening. That gut shot was everything.
So all his dust is one card that might be able to do some work here for Sean Gifford. He doesn't have it in hand, however. Spatial Contortion is that card that you can see there.
Yeah, I guess the line here would be something like Matter Reshaper off the tower, Spatial Contortion, one of the Arclight Phoenixes in combat. But even
But I mean, what's the long-term plan there? It's not as if Rodríguez López won't be able to bring back.
Right. Sorry, Reality Smasher is obviously better than if you're going to
just a matter of sure, probably. So Gifford saw the line. He saw the line. He played the better card. All right, in comes the 5/5, trampling over here.
Yeah, and I mean, look, we are with a land. We're already at 11 damage with no other cards.
So off the top, it was a land as well here.
There's a Manamorphose in hand. That's already going to get it to 12.
So Manamorphose in hand, in addition to a Braid Lightning Bolt, light up the stage. You'd think Rodríguez López has got it here.
It's not quite this turn, since, again, Sean has access to that Spatial Contortion. But Juan José is still very favored as long as that Shrine of Burning Rage stays in play. And it feels like Shrine might be a key card, but more on the play than on the draw. On the play, it's much easier for Sean to get down a Karn and protect it, and make sure that the interaction's flowing. And for Juan José, the Shrine on the draw has much less impact. So we might see it in this, on the play game, but maybe not on the draw.
So Manamorphose here for Rodríguez López. Uses the mana to cast a, what's he going to do here? A couple of options. Soulscar Mage, the pickup from that Manamorphose. And as I mentioned already, light up the stage, Lightning Bolt and Abrade. But it might be time for a Blood Moon. You can see Rodríguez López certainly considering it, Eduardo.
Yeah, definitely considers it.
That's going to prompt a response here from Gifford. He needs to make sure he does something before the Blood Moon comes into play. Taps the Mind for mana.
I think in this spot, Juan José was very worried about the possibility of Tron essentially doing something kind of crazy with all the mana. There wasn't really much, but it makes sense, right? Juan José is ahead.
I mean, by the widest margin as well, by 2 country miles, in fact. Yeah. Perhaps even 2.5. We'll see what Gifford can do, if anything, indeed, to keep his snoot above water here. But I got to say, I think the Canadian's going to go down here. Rodríguez López, Shrine of Burning Rage on 7. So just as it is, he doesn't actually even need to play another card. If Gifford has nothing, then Rodríguez López wins next turn just like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
In comes the Reality Smasher, smashing over the bismuth there. And Rodríguez López upstairs with the Shrine, of course, during the upkeep. And off the top, gets in with the Arclight Phoenix, and an activation of Shrine of Burning Rage should be enough to seal the deal. There it is, 8 damage upstairs, and we are going to game number 4. Juan José Rodríguez López salvaging a really, really tough start there, going down 2 games to 0 before sideboarding. And we saw he just was able to enact his game plan more or less uncontested, and that is the power, the explosive power of this mono-red Phoenix deck.
Yeah, right. I mean, that was a clunky hand. One gut shot, and let's roll.
I mean, that for sure was the card of that game, right?
Yeah.
Changed the game completely. Maybe there were other ways around it. I don't know. Yeah. But in any case, we are heading back to Table A, our first table here between Alvaro Fernandez Torres and Martin Müller, live from Mythic Championship IV from Barcelona. Riley Knight, Eduardo Sajgalik, and Müller looks like he's had a pre-game action. Started with the Leyline of the Void in play.
Yeah, and you heard, if you were around for the preview, Martin Müller specifically mentioned Leyline of the Void in that discussion with Martin Müller. It may look weird to have Leyline of the Void against a deck that clearly is not using the graveyard, but Leyline of the Void shuts down Hangerback Walker, and to some degree, Arcbound Ravager. The modular does not work with Leyline of the Void in play, and you can't make Thopters with Leyline of the Void. And if you remember Game 1, those were the 2 cards that were instrumental in Alvaro's victory. This means Leyline is shutting down the most key card in the matchup, which is definitely that Arcbound Ravager.
It is a not an unorthodox, but maybe an unexpected inclusion post-board here for Müller, but it will do good work, as you say. Funny to see both players leveraging some graveyard hate here.
Yeah, of course. From Alvaro's side, Grafdigger's Cage, the plan for a lot of these Hardened Scales decks is simply to play the max number of Grafdigger's Cages and Welding Jar. 4 Cage, 4 Welding Jar. That way you're protecting your Grafdigger's Cage and you're making sure that graveyard interaction can't hurt you. Problem, Hogaak's castable from hand.
Yeah, that's the issue, isn't it, really? You can get that 8/8 down even through a Grafdigger's Cage if you cast it from hand. I want to point out a remarkable skill that Alvaro Fernandez Torres has brought to this Mythic Championship top 8. And, I love to see high-level plays from players at events like this. And I have to take my hat off to Alvaro Fernandez Torres and his ability to always have Hardened Scales on turn 1.
Is that your measure of success?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. Come on. Come on.
That said, Arcbound Ravager can still grow to a large size. However, down to 1 card, Martin Müller can easily play a grindy game. I think this is this is a good spot for Assassin's Trophy, but also for Hogaak.
Now, we saw Müller get absolutely punished. He got absolutely done in by not removing the Arcbound Ravager in a time of its youth. Its innocent and indolent youth before it was a massive big powerhouse in game number 1. Will he make a different move this time with the Assassin's Trophy in hand? He does have the option to take out that Arcbound Ravager. And not in the, not in the take it out to dinner sense, in the sort of mob boss sleeping with the fishes take it out sense.
Yeah, for sure. Here it is, and that seems to be Martin's plan. But here it was much closer because you have access to Leyline of the Void. It's not so much a problem. That said, Alvaro's in a position where, well, I don't have much going on, and I kind of maybe want to hit a 2-turn clock with this Arcbound Ravager. But when Martin Müller's passing with 2 mana up, it's not good news. Yeah,
well, you know that there is chicanery afoot. There's some silly business going on here.
Yeah, if Alvaro had drawn anything, I think we might see an alternative play, but Martin Müller might be able to get rid of a few permanents here just because Alvaro needs them on that Ravager.
And yeah, this is what Fernandez Torres he's going to go for it. I mean, he does have another Mox Opal in hand. We may see a Darksteel Citadel bite the dust as well. Look at that. Sacrifice an artifact, put 3 +1/+1 counters. Not a bad rate.
Yeah, it's extremely good. And again, Leyline of the Void shuts down Arcbound Ravager, but with no other creatures in play, it's not really an issue. In this spot, Alvaro's behind, but one card that can help Alvaro a lot would be something like Walking Ballista.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is not subject to Leyline of the Void, and it would start with 3 counters in play, and for 4 mana you can add free.
Yeah.
So Martin Müller would have to put quite a clock, but Alvaro, I think, would be able to just about buy time.
And we know that the Hogaak list is not flush with interaction. We're seeing a key piece of it used here to remove the Arcbound Ravager. So, as you say, it's a great observation, Eduardo. If Fernandez Torres can find something like an army in a can card, a card that does it all by itself, Hangerback Walker, Walking Ballista, that's top of the list here for Fernandez in the top decks that he's hoping to hit. Hellbent now, after slapping that Mox Opal into play, back to Müller, who has a reasonable grip, it has to be said. Let's see what he wants to do with it here.
Yeah, by the way, Walking Ballista, Hangerback Walker is much worse than Walking Ballista just because Thopters cannot be made under Leyline of the Void, but would still be able to grow to a size. Walking Ballista also has the advantage that it can kill additional creatures outside of Hogaak. And remember, this Grafdigger's Cage is in play and is stopping these Vengevines, so the deck cannot really fully power out, apart from, an 8/8.
Well, we're going to see a Hogaak cast Au Natural here out of the hand. Grafdigger's Cage doesn't stop that.
There is nothing natural about that.
Well, I mean, it's as natural as this avatar ever is brought to bear here. 4 mana for Alvaro Fernandez Torres. What's he found? Ooh, there's that Walking Ballista.
That was a really key draw there. Look at it. It's 2 +1/+1.
It's a great rip, and all of a sudden now we've got a 4 mana 4/4 with a huge amount of upside. I mean, putting 3 extra counters on it per activation, whoo, that's a spicy meatball.
It's pretty nice. The problem is, while Alvaro's at 20, I think Alvaro has to draw yet another card. It's going to be really hard for just Walking Ballista to get the job done, since it's going to start having to picking off the army in front. And Hogaak 8/8.
I mean, it's huge. It's a big nasty 8/8 trampler there. But Torres is kind of all in on this Walking Ballista. Back to Müller now.
The card Alvaro needs to draw, apart from hoping that Martin doesn't actually draw something relevant, is maybe something like Arcbound Ravager. That would actually put the advantage back in Alvaro's seat.
So Müller, off the top, has he found another Hogaak here, I think? You saw him, Müller, very carefully remove cards from his graveyard, just in case that Cage doesn't stick around. He didn't miss the Vengevine triggers last time. He even pointed out the triggers, but then obviously couldn't bring them back because they're all caged up.
A little bit of melancholy
I don't know how you
there.
Cage a plant, to be honest. I mean, it'll find a way out. Life finds a way, but the Vengevines didn't this time around.
Yeah, and Carrion Feeder and Gravecrawler mean that any answer to the Gravedigger's Cage will get those Vengevines back.
Yeah, that's absolutely bonkers, of course. I'm sure many of our viewers are aware of the interaction between Gravecrawler and Carrion Feeder. Basically, with both of these cards out, you can cast a Gravecrawler infinitely and sacrifice it infinitely from your graveyard. Well, until you run out of mana, basically.
Yeah, you have to pay black every time, of course. Otherwise, that would be really
That'd be pretty bonkers. Yeah, that'd be pretty insane. All right.
More so. And decides here to...
Just shove, man. Just shove. Numbers are for nerds. Just get in there. I know he's not attacking. He's doing the exact opposite. Oops.
Decides that a Hogaak on defense is important. And the reason for that, think about it. What would happen if Walking Ballista went up to 7 counters on unblocked attack?
Oh, yeah, right. That's just dead skis.
Yeah.
That's just all over Red Rover. So if Fernandez Torres found something like maybe another Hardened Scales, activate Walking Ballista, put it to 7 counters. Oh, wait, no, it's on 7
already,
just now because we've already got 2. Oh.
Yeah. However, the Hardened Scales deck, not really renowned for its great removal. So that Hogaak is pretty...
No, but I mean, that's the point, right? That's why Müller had to play it.
Yeah. And the Walking Ballista deciding to take down these creatures now. I think the Carrion Feeder... the Carrion Feeder is a card that has to go down. Once you start targeting Carrion Feeder with Walking Ballista, you're committed till the end. You can't really stop pinging it and letting it be a free. So you kind of, once you do Carrion, target
You have to
Carrion
see it
Feeder,
out to the end.
Yes.
Yep, you have to commit. All right, well, Müller is going to put him to the test here. Fernandez Torres.
Yeah, so decided to trade free counters. Responded to Martin Müller's Hogaak sacrifice from Carrion Feeder.
All right, so 3 cards off the top from that Stitcher's Supply. There's another Vengevine.
Yeah, and now we're down to Walking Ballista and Hogaak.
All right, well, this is the matchup. This is the matchup. Walking Ballista benefiting from those counters, of course, that are provided by Hardened Scales here. One of the best payoffs in the deck.
But by the way, you know what positions Alvaro's in? If Martin doesn't draw anything, Martin can't attack.
No. Because all of a sudden, I mean, at 14, you'd think he's got enough life, but no. One attack from a 7/7 Walking Ballista would be enough here for Müller, who's only got 1 card in hand. He's found a Bloodgust. That doesn't do a lot on this board, Eduardo.
If Martin passes, Alvaro is in a huge advantage. Since every turn adding a counter, you get to 7. The turn after you get to 10, you can attack for free.
Yeah. Just get it done. And Müller on 14, a surprisingly tenuous life total in the face of this Walking Ballista as it gets pumped up further and further thanks to these Hardened Scales. Let's have a look at what Fernandez Torres has found here. It may not even matter. He may just want to continue to pile counters on the Ballista.
Well, and that would help. It's the 7th land.
Oh, it's an Inkmoth Nexus.
Or
here.
Mana Source Driver because of Mox Opal, but yes.
4 mana, Walking Ballista.
Martin Müller needs to draw something. A removal spell.
All
Assassin's Trophy.
What is the card? What has he found? It's a land. It's not going to be enough here. It's not going to be enough for Martin Müller.
And Alvaro can just attack with a 10/10 Walking Ballista, forcing a chump block.
And that is going to leave Müller with absolutely nothing to do here. Gravedigger's Cage preventing him from bringing anything back from the bin. Bloodgust and Blackcleave Cliffs in hand. These cards do stone cold nothing at this stage.
Yeah, that late.
Oh my goodness!
By the way, Leyline of the Void actually ended up doing nothing.
Yeah. Even when the Ravager died, there was nothing for it to put its counters on. So all of a sudden here, Martin Müller in dire straits. Back to Alvaro Fernandez Torres.
Look at the power of the card Hardened Scales. This is a good example.
It's bonkers. He's just found, I think, a reanimation module.
Well, those cards, they're weird art cards. It's Metallic Mimic.
Oh, this is Metallic Mimic. Okay.
It doesn't do much
It's definitely
here.
very Kaladeshi.
Yes, but look at
in
this.
it comes, look at this big attack from the Walking Ballista. Chump block for the 2nd time in this match from Hogaak, the Arisen Necropolis. And now...
You might as well. The Metallic Mimic, with Müller at 14, I would definitely play that because that's another lethal threat with the Graft.
It is.
Wait, the Graft for sure
So
should
Graft
happen here.
triggers off Llanowar Reborn. That's going to put a bunch of counters on the Metallic Mimic, which is, of course, a construct. Oh, no, has he missed it?
Well, he hasn't missed it. He might be considering it, but this is a good spot to do it because it would be a lethal attacker.
Right, he was in the tank. I wasn't sure there.
Yeah. He definitely did not miss in a spot like this.
So huge, big Metallic Mimic. Martin Müller finds a Faithless Looting. Okay, a glimmer of hope here for the Dane.
Unfortunately, I don't know one card in the deck that can prevent this.
Gravecrawler can't block, but what about an Engineered Explosives?
That's unfortunately not good enough.
Cast it for 0, blow up the Walking Ballista.
But the Walking Ballista has a certain activated ability.
Oh, it does too, doesn't it? Oh, Eduardo, what a master you spotted. So Müller now I think he has resigned himself to his fate here, and he packs them up. We're going to game number 4 once again in this semi-final between Alvaro Fernandez Torres, quarterfinal I should say, and Martin Müller here after a surprising, really, I mean, a flurry of cards there from Alvaro Fernandez Torres meant that he got himself back in the game.
That walking ballista draw.
It was key. It was huge.
I called that the card that Alvaro needed to stay in the game, drew it exactly when needed. And on top of that, Martin Müller didn't draw much after. That was super key.
I mean, yeah, Müller drew cards that couldn't block or cards that weren't doing anything with
well,
the
those are in his deck.
And,
but it was more like the lack of removal. But the key card was definitely the walking ballista.
Oh, no, absolutely. There's no two ways about that. We move back to our back table now here with Sean Gifford once again on Eldrazi Tron and Juan José Rodríguez López Mono Red Phoenix. We saw Rodríguez López attempt to even up the ledger with a Game 3 victory. But at 2-1, Sean Gifford is still in a position to snag himself that much-coveted semi-final berth. Rodríguez López kicking things off now with a 1-drop. Let's see what it is. Faithless Looting.
And plenty of burn. Lightning Bolt as... It's actually been a nice while since I've seen burn. It's kind of refresher.
Yeah. It's funny how, you know, even decks that, you know, you're not necessarily a big fan of, once they go away, you realize you kind of miss them.
This feels like an upgrade to burn, honestly.
I mean, it's got a different angle of attack, right? It's got a much more resilient game plan for sure.
Wait, well, the Arclight Phoenix for sure is going to hit the bin. What the other card is usually a little more tense.
All
but
right. I think it's Lava Dart here.
Lava Dart, it's kind of nice to have it in the graveyard just because it gives you that 0 mana option. And that leaves the option for Juan José to go something like next turn, Lava Dart, Lightning Bolt, get back Phoenix.
I mean, that's a lot of damage that's being unloaded. And I don't think Rodríguez López will be too shy to point some burn upstairs.
That was a huge draw.
Oh, he's found a Chalice just like that off the top. Oh, my goodness. As we've said, Chalice of the Void, it shuts off half of Rodríguez López's deck. I can't imagine Gifford would play any other card. What a top deck. That is a huge nail in the coffin. That is a nail the size of your arm that has been smashed into that coffin here.
Without that, Juan José would have been able to unload a bunch of light up the stages, get an Arclight Phoenix, put a ton of damage. But with that single card, the Chalice of the Void, prevents all of that nonsense.
Well, and look at this. Rodríguez López, desperate times call for desperate measures. Discard 3 cards to bring back an Arclight Phoenix. He knows he can't go up against that Chalice. He needs an Abrade. He needs a Shenanigans. In the meantime, we do have Arclight Phoenix back on turn number 2. And for Juan José Rodríguez López's behalf, I mean, he'll be hoping it's enough.
Yeah, but, you know, Sean Gifford's hand, very interactive. Spatial Contortion, Dismember, you can see it on your screen.
Oh, no. So Gifford, things looking very bright indeed for him. As we've said, just 1 game away from a semi-finals berth here. There's the Blast Zone.
You want more interaction? Blast Zone deals with any 1-drop creature. Oh, sorry, there's a Chalice in play.
Oh, there's a Chalice in play.
My apologies.
Yeah, no. Gifford's got it all locked up. Don't even worry about it, Eduardo. He came prepared. He came very much prepared.
Yeah.
You can see him there, a proud member of the Tron clan in his Tron shirt, I think freshly purchased for this top 8, just to really send a clear message, assert his authority.
Yeah, he does say that he doesn't like the deck, so at least he's a man after our own heart.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, look, you know, sometimes they say, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. And right now, Sean Gifford with Tron is, I mean, it's a bit of a deal with the devil, but I tell you what, it's got him to the quarterfinals, and it's looking very likely to get him to the semifinals. Khan, the Great Creator, off the top, light up the stage, reveals another Arclight Phoenix. That's a stinker there for Rodríguez. He'll need another land to cast that, and another light up the stage as well.
Worst part, even if that Arclight Phoenix could be cast next turn, there's a Dismember. I mean, to be fair, Juan José, essentially to stay in this game, has to cast the Arclight Phoenix. With the Lava Dart in the graveyard, there might be a shot for Juan José to actually get them back, and getting both back might give Juan José a chance, although here I'm pretty sure Sean Gifford is very favored.
All right, so Gifford has a look through that sideboard. That's going to clearly signpost the Khan, the Great Creator, that is in his hand.
Yeah,
so for 4 mana, there it is. The recent addition from War of the Spark, reinvigorating Eternal formats of all kinds, getting a lot of play in Vintage as well. As a huge shot in the arm here for Eldrazi Tron. Off the top, it is a land, so we can see Arclight Phoenix played for full retail off that last turn's light up the stage. There it is.
Yeah, definitely the right play here. It's kind of your only plan.
Yeah. I mean, that's it, right, with that Chalice of the Void, unless Rodríguez López can find something like a Shenanigans, something like an Abrade. But even then, He's
You got
running
nothing
on
left
fumes.
because
That's
you pitched free spell.
You discarded 3
But look-
spells to bring
look,
back
if that
a...
chalice wasn't drawn, it would have just been pretty
Oh,
close.
it would have been brutal. It would have been so brutal. A key draw there for the Canadian. Turn 2, finding that chalice to play. I mean, Rodríguez López's hand was stacked. He had 7 points of direct damage, plus the Phoenix there. That would have been 10 damage on turn 2, and then light up the stage from there to reload. So here, disaster mode for the Spaniard, and Sean Gifford sitting pretty, flying high here behind his Khan the Great Creator. What's Rodríguez López going to do here? Go upstairs, go downstairs, go in my lady's chamber? What's he up to with this Phoenix?
Well, it's definitely attacking, but the question was whether it was Khan the Great Creator, and that's the decision Juan José went with. Juan José is very far behind. Sean's life total is just too high. You can't really attack it. You're just hoping to attack Karn the Great Creator and make sure that something like Mycosynth Flatters can end the game. But even here, Karn is just going to get a gigantic walking ballista because that Urza's Tower means mana.
Yeah, it brings Tron online here for Gifford, and the Canadian getting himself, powering himself further and further ahead here. It's looking fantastic for him. Behind that Chalice, behind that Khan, a lonely Arclight Phoenix putting in the work here for Rodríguez López, but I suspect it's
this might
not
be
enough.
Oh, this is probably it. Sean Gifford has access to Dismember in hand. So by taking Mycosynth Flatus, you make sure that Juan José can't really cast anything. The only card would be something like that Lava Dart in the graveyard since, well, it doesn't need mana. But the problem is there's Chalice of the Void. So this Lattice, Dismember on Arclight Phoenix.
I mean, it's a lockout, right?
Yeah.
It's a lockout. Sorry, the bar is closed, my friends. You missed final call, and that is that here. Mycosynth Lattice, get rid of that Dismember. Rodríguez López can't cast spells, can't activate abilities, nothing going on in hand for him, and Sean Gifford looks to have this one locked up. Rodríguez López, he reminds himself of the text of Mycosynth Lattice. Right now it reads, you cannot cast spells. And Khan the Great Creator plus Mycosynth Lattice poised now to push Sean Gifford into the semifinals of a Mythic Championship. Juan José Rodríguez López, unfortunately for him, is out of options, a day late and $1 short. Chalice of the Void getting it done for Gifford. Crunching those numbers, tens of thousands of dollars on the line here. You don't want to make a mistake, but Rodríguez López, my friend, the writing seems to be on the wall for you. No relevant cards in his deck, let alone on the battlefield here now for López.
Well, there is like one absolutely unreal out that could happen that I don't think we'll see.
Matter Reshaper now, back to Juan José Rodríguez López. He draws, ships. What's he looking for?
Free 0 mana spells. That is what Juan José
No
Rodríguez
way,
López
so
is looking.
triple gut shot.
Well, there's a Lava Dart
Or
already.
Lava Darts as well, all right.
That's the only thing that Juan José can have.
Even then, he's taking 6, 7, 8, 9 a turn now, thanks to that Mycosynth Lattice being woken up, and that is enough. Juan José Rodríguez López goes down 3-1 against the Canadian superstar Sean Gifford, and it couldn't have happened to a nicer bloke. Congratulations indeed to our semi-finalist here, Sean Gifford.
Yep, pretty much. I don't know if it's kind of an upset. Chalice of the Void is so important in this matchup. I think without Chalice of the Void, Sean would have been in a lot of trouble in those games, but it's the card that single-handedly shuts down Juan José's entire game plan, as you saw in that game.
Absolutely, that was a key draw there for Gifford, and almost certainly locked up his position in our top 4. Back to table 1 now. We've got Alvaro Fernandez Torres against Martin Müller. These two in the midst of resolving mulligans by the look of things, and they're going to be underway before very much longer, you would have thought.
Yeah, it looks like Martin kept full 7 and plays engaged. There's a Leyline of the Void. Again, shutting off Hangerback Walker, shutting off Arcbound Ravager, modular ability. And with Arcbound Ravager in hand, that was pretty key. Arcbound Ravager plus Walking Ballista is a ton of damage, especially with that Hardened Scales in Alvaro's hand. So Alvaro, with a Leyline of the Void in play, is probably going to focus all the energy on that Walking Ballista. But Shenanigans, a key card in this matchup.
All right, okay. That's going to change the dimensions of this matchup quite significantly here. Sata Wayfinder the play now for Martin Müller. Let's remind ourselves, Alvaro Fernandez Torres is in a position with 1-game win to be our final semi-finalist here, and he'll be hungry for that. We know that. 2 mana now. and it is a Walking Ballista. Now, Torres does have in hand double Hardened Scales now. Walking Ballista cleans up that Satyr Wayfinder after the graph trigger.
That was a huge sacrifice of resources from Alvaro, and you can see when Alvaro saw the Hogaak Arisen Necropolis in the graveyard, the line of thinking was essentially any creature gets this Hogaak back, so I need to expand resources to deal with Satyr Wayfinder rather than developing the Hardened Scales in my hand and maybe another Llanowar Reborn, because I'm going to fall way too far behind for this to matter. I need to make sure Hogaak doesn't come into play. That was a big sacrifice of resources there.
Yes, losing out on quite a fair bit. Now, Fernandez Torres does have the namesake card, 2 copies thereof, in his hand, in addition to an Arcbound Ravager. A second copy of Llanowar Reborn, however, that means that he's going to have a slower start than he'd like.
That's true. Llanowar Reborn is a slow start, but it's such a powerful land in the Hardened Scales deck. The fact that grafting a counter with Hardened Scales in play makes 2, and wow, Alvaro's shaking in the head because there's a Gravecrawler, there's a Stitcher Supplier, and with a land, that's a Hogaak.
Yeah, that's a lot of good stuff there in the graveyard for Müller here.
Oh, okay, so Alvaro's line of thinking here is, do I kill the Stitcher Supplier now because that would prevent Hogaak this turn?
Right, because there's no way to convoke it.
Yeah, but Walking Ballista is Alvaro's best resource. This is...
Man, that's a really difficult needle to thread here. So 6 cards.
Alvaro is in trouble because of shenanigans. In an equal matchup, I would say that Martin, you know, I think Alvaro's actions would kind of work out since you have Arcbound Ravager plus Hardened Scales. Good things can happen.
Yeah.
That said, shenanigans is going to make Alvaro's life misery. There aren't that many resources, and without access to Arcbound Ravager being relevant, that's going to be a big problem.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough here for the Spaniard, who, of course, has a heavily artifact-based deck. Here is a copy of Hardened Scales and Grafdigger's Cage, but Müller won't be too worried about that thanks to Shenanigans.
Yeah, Shenanigans a huge card. I mean, yeah, that was Alvaro's game plan. Hope to draw something like Grafdigger's Cage and prevent things from happening. And then, you know, eventually things may pan out in your way. But Shenanigans, big, big problem.
That Walking Ballista, of course, exiled because of the Leyline of the Void here. Now, Leyline, not the all-star heavyweight, hard-hitting superstar that it is in many graveyard matchups, but the reason we see Müller bring it in, of course, is because it does shut off the modular triggers from Arcbound Ravager. One of the key ways that Torres' deck can push through damage.
Yeah, and also Hangerback Walker, which I guess a little less important, but it does making, you know, the Hogaak deck's pretty weak against flyers, so it does remain important.
That's very true. They don't get the Thopters as well because, of course, the Hangerback Walker never dies. All right.
Small reprieve for Alvaro here because that land comes into play tapped. That means not a Shenanigans this turn. That means not a Hogaak and a bunch of Vengevines.
All right, so just an attack now for 2 rather tame stuff from the Dane here as Bloodgust comes across, knocks Fernandez Torres down to 18. And a Blackcleave Cliffs, not the land that Müller would have been hoping for.
Yeah, there's...
Excuse me, for which he would have been hoping.
Ah.
Don't want to end a sentence with a proposition there.
Fair enough.
Shouldn't end a sentence with a proposition or a preposition. So, Müller now, having to wait on what Alvaro Fernandez Torres wants to get up to this turn. You can see he's channeling that inner Johnny Finkel. Look at him massage those temples. He's having a good old think about how he wants to put his best foot forward here. Müller, on the other hand, look, this is the 3rd time he's been in a Mythic Championship top 8. He knows his stuff. He is cool, calm, collected, ready for anything. Quite a, you know, he's someone who is very aware of the numbers involved, the likelihood, the percentages, and as a result, he'll be sitting there with a good idea of what he expects out of this matchup.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Martin's been in the spot quite a few times. Understands the matchup can be difficult, but puts in cards that help. Leyline of the Void makes this Hangerback Walker much less of an issue. Hangerback Walker without Leyline would actually have been a very good way to beat Shenanigans, since at that point Alvaro could have added the graph counter from Llanowar Reborn, which is chosen here because you kind of just need a gigantic blocker.
And I mean, that's exactly what Hangerback Walker is. Look at this, a 6/6 thanks to that graph trigger there, and of course the double Hardened Scales. Easy game here for Fernandez Torres in terms of getting on the board, but Müller, he's got answers for days, man.
Yeah, and again, you're going to see the power of the Leyline of the Voids almost more than the Shenanigans. Shenanigans on Hangerback Walker without Leyline is very bad. 6 Thopters would be almost as bad for Martin Müller as a 6/6 here, or actually much worse. But yeah, Shenanigans got the cage.
Yep, Shenanigans takes care of Grafdigger's Cage. That means that we are going to get gacked. Hogaak, the Arisen Necropolis, rises once again. Convoking with those two creatures, delving the other cards out of the bin there, and there is the 8/8. Back to Fernandez Torres now.
Yeah, and now Alvaro has the information. There is shenanigans afoot.
There are shenanigans afoot, indeed. Indeed, well said, Eduardo here, because Fernandez Torres, I mean, he's facing it's not even an uphill battle. It's like the hill, it's a cliff. It's a cliff, it's an up cliff battle here. He's going to have to really find something incredibly special to get himself back in this one. Müller has the Hogaak online. There's an Arcbound Ravager. That's not doing much because Martin Müller can just cast shenanigans every turn for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and that's the problem. I think without shenanigans, this game might have actually been pretty close. Hangerback Walker would have been able to go to 9. That was a very good blocker for the Hogaak. But between Leyline of the Void and shenanigans, it's going to be really hard for Alvaro to mount something.
Just actual Doomblade here. Just actual Doomblade. Get that 6/6 out of here. Yeah, we Doomblade with Dredge. Not bad. I'll tell you what, it's not bad.
Yeah, and the reason you see only one copy of shenanigans is you're not expecting that many artifact decks in this tournament. It's certainly not at the talk of the town at the start of the weekend, but it's especially because you can dredge so many cards that your shenanigans will eventually work. And even better for the graveyard-based deck, shenanigans doesn't care about Grafdigger's Cage. But here, Assassin's Trophy on top on the Arcbound Ravager. Alvaro, even with 2 Hardened Scales, kind of out of resources.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that's going to save him here is maybe some kind of miraculous poison kill, but even then, I just don't see it happening, and nor does Fernandez Torres, and that means Martin Müller forces a Game 5. It's going right down to the wire between these two players here. As we say, Alvaro Fernandez Torres facing off against Martin Müller. As we welcome you back to the booth, my name's Riley. That is Eduardo Sajgalik. And look, we can talk about the sideboards at this point. I want to touch upon the fact that Martin Müller did characterize this matchup as a negative one, an unfavorable one for him and his deck. But of course, as we saw, sideboard cards are very high importance. So let's have a look at what we're working with here. Post-board, game number 5, of course, sideboards in play. What do we like here? Apart from that shenanigans, Nature's Claim going to do some work. Maybe Assassin's Trophy, Fatal Push seems to be decent as well.
Yeah,
a lot of good interactive options.
Engineered Explosive is also kind of nice. You can deal with a lot of the 0 mana artifacts because, again, those XX creatures have a converted mana cost of 0, so particularly effective in this matchup. And those 2 Leyline of the Voids have friends in the main deck. I don't think you want the full 4 because a good way to lose, we saw in game 3, was have Leyline of the Void but have it not matter, and then you're down a card against an opponent who's killing you with Walking Ballista.
Yeah, it can be a little awkward sometimes.
Right, so you heard again the interview, the right number is probably closer to 3. Especially with this much interacting. Double Engineered Explosives, double Assassin's Trophy, probably Fatal Push, definitely Nature's Claim, definitely Shenanigans.
A lot of options here for Martin Müller in his Hogaak list. Looks like a pretty good sideboard for matchups like this. A lot of good interactive options.
Yeah.
We can move on now. Oh, sorry. Do you want?
Yeah. I was going to say that, you know, it makes it difficult as to what to board out.
That is very true. But we have a look now at Alvaro Fernandez Torres sideboard here. A nice, clean, tight package here with 4 Grafdigger's Cage, 4 Nature's Claim, 3 Damping Sphere, 3 Dismember, and a single Torpor Orb.
Damping Sphere, Dismember, Torpor Orb, not really doing much, so you're down to the first 2. Grafdigger's Cage for sure a 4 of.
Easy.
It is, right?
Easy game.
But the Nature's Claim, you may be wondering, why not? My opponent's playing Leyline of the Void. Shouldn't I try to counter their sideboard plan? Kind of. Nature's Claim only good against Leyline of the Void.
That's the thing, right? It doesn't hit anything else. There's no other weird artifacts or enchantments that the Hogaak lists play that you might want to hit with a Nature's Claim. And the 4 life as well, quite relevant in a matchup like this.
For sure. I mean, you can gain 4 life yourself. It can help you win in a race.
That's true.
One other key interaction with Nature's Claim is to destroy your own Hangerback Walker in order to guarantee the Foppers if you're lacking a sacrifice outlet.
You need that death trigger to get those 1/1s in the air. And we talked about it, didn't we? Yeah. Hangerback Walker going to the skies after Beyond the Grave. That's a key interaction, a key threat for the Spaniard here.
Yeah, but I think for Grafdigger's Cage, keep your deck on plan.
Yeah.
Maximum in my view, 1 Nature's Claim, and I'm not even sure that's correct.
All right. Well, we can head back down to the feature match area now. As you can see, our lone 2 players in the feature match area, Alvaro Fernandez Torres against Martin Müller. Martin Müller, a GP circuit mainstay over the last years. He's been at Magic Fests for a very, very long time, had a lot of success on the EU circuit, and you know, a good bloke, generally good bloke. I can't say that I'm very familiar with Alvaro Fernandez Torres. First time I've met him here at this event, but Martin Müller, he's hungry. He's got that fire in his belly. A couple of months ago in May, he tweeted about how, you know, he'd been slowly moving away from Magic. There'd been some IRL stuff that had started to take a bit more of a front seat in his life, Eduardo. But he's turned around 180 degrees and he's got straight back into it. And I'll tell you what,
look at that
tweet aged very well.
You missed the bro shake.
No, I saw it. I saw that. I saw that. It's the tennis over the net handshake there.
And you know, speaking of tennis, whoever's been on the serve kind of wins the game.
That's how it's been. A great observation. Yes. Also, like tennis, they're using rackets. No, they're not. That'd probably be a game rule violation, I would say.
So the reason you see a mulligan there for Martin Müller, while there was Leyline of the Void, which was key in game 4, not so much game 3. Okay, I can put Leyline. There was nothing else. So you put Leyline and die.
You put Leyline, you take a pre-game action and then no actual game actions. But ooh, look at this. Double Grafdigger's Cage, double Hanger Back Walker, plus a couple of lands to power them out as well. I like this. This is a great hand here.
Yeah,
for Fernandez Torres.
Does not have Hardened Scales. I mean, if you just kept hands with Hardened Scales, I mean, at that point, you'd mulligan a lot. But Ingmoth Nexus also pretty key there.
Yeah, yep. Another way to push through that damage in case. I mean, we've said it before. We'll say it again. It bears repeating. Hogaak, a little softer flyers, Eduardo.
Yes, for sure. It's a deck that just, well, I mean, it doesn't block a flyer.
Yeah.
It has to kill it straight. It has to destroy it straight up. And without Leyline of the Void, Hangerback Walker is a real issue in this matchup. And that's going to be key. The value of Alvaro's hand depends entirely on whether there's a Leyline or not. If there's a Leyline, Alvaro's hand is not that great. It's okay. You have 2 cages, you have time.
But no Leyline.
But no Leyline?
It's through the roof.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, baby. Let's have a look at the opener here for Müller. Ugh. Can you smell that? Ooh, I think we got a stinker.
Yeah,
I think we got a stinker in our hands here, Eduardo.
Yeah, but you have interaction with Assassin's Trophy.
Nah.
Oh, decides to ship it.
Nah.
Wow.
Nah.
Okay.
Down to 5 here. That is rough here. I can't believe he's got to go down to 5. He's got to go down to 5 today. And that is a rough way to start the deciding game of a quarterfinal here. Martin Müller on a mulligan to 5 and with his opponent, unbeknownst to him, having kept a stone-cold club banger of a hand. They're going to be blasting this one in nightclubs around the world.
Yeah, and by the way, the mulligan was super close. While it looked like a stinker, Satyr Wayfinder plus Assassin's Trophy, it's not that great, but honestly, it was a good lesson that you have to mulligan aggressively in matchups like this from time to time.
All right, okay. I mean, look, I would not have kept that hand. I don't think I would have kept that hand. There was no second land. It was a big,
There were
big
2 lands,
risk.
I believe.
No, it's only 1 land.
Oh, in that case, yeah.
There's only one land. No,
Sorry,
ship it, man. Get it out.
I looked the wrong cards.
Right,
yeah.
right.
If there's only 1 land,
I
that
think
was
with
a
2
stinker.
lands, it's a lot closer. Two
Yes.
lands is a lot closer, but no. I think it was only 1 land. Look, I could be wrong. I
I could be wrong there. Yeah, for
We
sure.
all could be wrong.
But to be fair, 1 land we'd throw, 2 land think about it.
Yeah, we're close. Exactly right. Yeah. So let's have a look at what this 7 looks like here for Martin Müller. If you've just joined us, maybe this is the first time you've tuned in to Mythic Championship coverage for a while. Welcome. By all means, welcome. So good to have your company. But the London Mulligan is in effect now in this tournament. This means that when you mulligan, you still draw 7, and then you put cards under your library equal to the number of times you've mulligan. In this case, it will be 2. What did you spot here?
The hand is definitely a keep. I mean, you're at 5. Going lower is probably disaster. Stitcher Supplier, one of the best cards because it has the most explosive potential. It both puts cards in your graveyard and puts a key creature in play for Hogaak. There's 2 interaction pieces. There's 3 lands. One of the lands can easily go to the bottom, probably the Blackleaf Cliffs. You need the green mana for Trophy. The question is, does Martin Müller go, you know what, I just don't have time for this interaction. I have to bottom one of the pieces. Or does Martin decide, I'm on the draw, my hand's not that great, I'm going to need to play a longer game, I'm going to keep both interactions. So I'm kind of interested to see what Martin Müller decided to keep. And it seems like Martin Müller decided to keep it all going for bottoming 2 lands.
All right, well,
this is right
off
away.
the top just like that. A Stone Cold Master still down to 5, though. It's not the best start here for Müller, and a great start for Fernandez Torres with a turn 1 Grafdigger's Cage.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for that cage, that was an excellent dispatch of cards with Stitcher Supplier. Importantly, though, for Alvaro, Martin only has 1 answer to a Grafdigger's Cage. 2 is usually pretty unlikely. But in Alvaro's favor, you know, in Martin's favor here, Engineered Explosives is a card in the sideboard.
Yeah.
So deploying a second Grafdigger's Cage is not really that free of an action.
No, that's true. I mean, Müller there could really punish Fernandez Torres for this. Look, let's be clear. Fernandez Torres still out ahead. There's no 2 ways about that. But we're going to have a real game of Magic on our hands, which is fantastic. Don't always get these after a mulligan to 5, but Müller has certainly found a way to keep himself in this game.
Yeah, took the risk. I think I remember a game with Martin Müller where I don't know if it was him, but I remember a game where a 6-card hand got kept with no lands correctly, and I wonder if it was him that did that action. But he's pretty willing. You know, you have to be willing to take the risk. Martin's hand was really good, and it was just going to be lacking one resource. Martin decided the resource I want to lack is a land. I have 2 draw steps.
Yep.
It's the most likely one. That's what I went for.
Immediately rewarded as well, as we saw with that land off the top straight away.
And another one, so yeah, for sure, very rewarded.
Yeah, he's done really well here, has the young Dane. He's done very well indeed, found that fatal push as well. Now, the question is when and how he wants to deploy it, but right now it's going to be Gravecrawler instead. Takes me all the way back to 2012 there, Gravecrawler, the Scourge of Standard when Blue-White Delver was running roughshod over the format. And it's good to see it getting played once again at the top tables in Modern.
And fatal push on Hangerback Walker before he gets out of hand.
I really like that.
Yeah, unfortunately, second Hangerback Walker is going to be a problem.
But the thing is, like, Muller's got to play the ball as it lies, right? What's he found?
Hardened Scales.
He's found a Hardened Scales.
That's so good.
He's found a Hardened Scales and a Pendelhaven as well, so he can cast it straight away. That is a huge draw here for Fernandez Torres.
Well, the Pendelhaven wasn't the, but it's all good. Like, it's all the bonus, all the goodie.
It's all fantastic, because of course if he had something like a Llanowar Reborn, he wouldn't be able to cast a green 1-drop at this stage.
Yeah,
those colourless lands, so critical that he has the green source, Forest as well. Yeah. Plenty of options.
Yeah, but the reason you're seeing Alvaro think is Alvaro's probably considering, do I rely on this one Grafdigger's Cage, or am I going to be careful and just go, look, there's a Bloodghast, there's a Vengevine, I have to deploy a second one.
The thing is, okay, here's my view, here's my take on here's Riley Knight's big call, all right? Here's the big call about the Grafdigger's Cage. You don't play the second one, because you get blown out by more cards than you don't, right? Not only do shenanigans deal with...
Alvaro disagreed with you.
Well, he disagrees, and he's a better player than me, so I'll tell you what, maybe with Riley Knight's big call wasn't exactly on point here. But there are so many cards that blow you out in this situation. Engineered Explosive, Shenanigans, both terrible against this play here.
By the way...
Great against, sorry, that play is terrible against them, I should say.
By the way, Martin Müller drew a second answer to a Grafdigger's Cage in Nature's Claim, but very importantly, Bloodghast won't be able to come back, simply because there's just... the land have to come into play unless Martin decides to take this one slow, destroy a cage, not play a land drop, destroy a cage on your own turn, which might be the action.
Okay, all right. Well, there's a Bloodghast ready and waiting, but there's a Bloodstained Mire. So in hand now for Müller is Nature's Claim Assassin's Trophy. In hand for Fernandez Torres, however, Hardened Scales double land, I think.
Unfortunately for Alvaro, Alvaro's hand is pretty resilient and all that. It's not very fast. There's going to be a lot of time before Alvaro can kind of take over this game.
So, Grafdigger's Cage here is currently ruling the roost. Now, one interesting thing about the Grafdigger's Cage, of course, is that even with a Bloodghast trigger, you can destroy the cage in response to the trigger to still bring it back.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So, yeah, my point earlier could have been Assassin's Trophy plus Nature's Claim. That said, that's not that great a play for Martin. Since the Bloodghast would come back and the cages would be gone, that's great. Okay, now what? You're out of resources.
So now Fernandez Torres, a lone land in hand for him, whereas Martin Müller, still some great interactive options for him in Assassin's Trophy and Nature's Claim. Now, his graveyard is a little lacking here, I think it's fair to say. Only a Vengevine, only a Bloodghast, so a quieter innings there. But let's not forget, Müller is coming off a mulligan to 5, and he is battling as though he didn't.
Yeah, I mean, the key, though, is those extra cards are going to matter a lot. Martin is trying to decide on a target. With 2 cages in play, I wonder if the target is Hardened Scales and maybe Hangerback Walker.
Maybe going to take a different bent here. We'll see.
Martin deciding that with Grafdigger's Cage cannot really win, does not want to wait for an Engineered Explosives.
All right, so away goes one of the cages here. And Müller, of course, can destroy that second cage with the Nature's Claim in hand, and that would bring back the Bloodghast.
Yeah. By the way, one big drop. You were talking about the 4-life from Nature's Claim against Hogaak.
Yep.
From Hardened Scales, that's not so bad. The reverse is definitely true, though.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see the role that Nature's Claim plays in different decks when the 4-life, sometimes is completely irrelevant. Tron-based decks usually don't care about an extra 4-life. Obviously, some decks that want to race, like this Hardened Scales one, definitely does. But at 1 mana, you just don't. They're priced to move. You just don't get a better deal than that for a disenchant.
Yeah, and here Martin's finally drawn something that can get the engine started. With Nature's Claim on Grafdigger's Cage plus Carrion Feeder, the Vengevine will come back, the Bloodghast will come back, and some action will happen. However, Hangerback Walker is going to be quite a problem. It's going to grow out of proportion very quickly.
Very quickly indeed, especially with that copy of Hardened Scales. Now, of course, Müller could have removed the Hardened Scales with either one of his removal spells there.
Yeah, and you sacrifice the Citrus Supplier because if you get Hogaak, you're in this game. Otherwise, the board is kind of on parity. Right. And there are ways to get through, but they're not that great.
Not great flips there from the Stitcher Supplier on the way out.
There's also the argument that Alvaro did deal an extra point of damage, but something like putting Pendelhaven on Hangerback Walker, letting it resolve to a 2-free, and then adding counters to make it a 4-5 to block Vengevine, not so bad.
So, Müller now, of course, still can't bring back any of those creatures from the yard, but does have the answer to the cage, and so may be able to start to enact that graveyard-based game plan. Here's Nature's Claim. It's going after the second cage. So, Martin Müller breaks free from the Hell in a Cell. Excuse me, Heck in a Sec. It's a family-friendly show, after all.
I don't even get that reference.
And now, I think we're going to see much more powerful graveyard-based stuff from Martin Müller. Now the way is clear with those Gravedigger's cages out of the way.
For sure. And one thing with Gravedigger's cage, it doesn't remove the graveyard. The cards are still there. Alvaro, thankfully, is not facing Hogaak, though. Vengevine, much more manageable.
Yeah, quite a completely different kettle of fish there, completely different kettle of elemental.
And because of the speed here, Carrion Feeder might start being a bigger problem than anything else.
That's true. I mean, it's getting big already, and that's going to bring back the Vengevine, which comes into play tapped and attacking. It's a rocket-powered Turbo Slug getting busy already.
That's an excellent reference, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Unhinged, yeah, Unhinged, right?
I mean, I was still in primary school when that card came out, but still, you know. When we first discovered my initial playgroup, we found them. We thought they were just the coolest things on earth, and they certainly are silver-bordered Magic. It's amazing. Anyway, off the top now, for Fernandez Torres. What's
I saw Nature's Claim. I was talking about maybe you have one because of Leyline. Alvaro drew it. As you can see on this board, not very relevant, except for destroying your own Hangerback Walker.
Yes.
Which might be relevant.
Taking to the skies once again, of course. That is an option here for Fernandez Torres. That Hangerback Walker is growing very large indeed. It can generate 5 Thopters right now.
One important aspect of this is that the Hangerback Walker we might get in a spot where it gets so large that it can't die, blocking anything. which is actually a drawback in some spots.
Funny, yeah. It's very funny to think about.
But because of Nature's Claim, Alvaro is actually at 20 life.
Yeah.
Can take this a little slower.
Yeah.
And will be maybe able to generate enough Thopters to kill Martin Müller. Actually, this might be in 2 turns.
I mean, we talked about this. We talked about the fact that taking to the skies is one very effective path to victory here for Alvaro Fernandez Torres. The Hogaak deck doesn't have a lot of great answers to flyers here. And now, let's get involved with some poison damage here. Inkmoth Nexus sailing across.
Yeah, and it's because when you do the math here, putting Hangerback up to 5, Nature's Claiming it, makes 6 Thopters plus Pendelhaven is that 13 life.
All right,
over 2 attacks.
Just a poison counter for good measure here.
Big this time, but
1, 2, 3 fails to find the Hogaak off the Stitcher Supplier.
But we got a remill.
We get a remill. We get a remill.
Thanks to the redraw. Now this is a remill.
Now there's a remill thanks to Carrion Feeder, of course. Can bin that Stitcher Supplier.
Yeah, and in this spot, you probably do it. Also, Vengevine can grow this. This Carrion Feeder is going to be gigantic.
It's going to be big boy. Big boy.
Yeah.
All right. Stitcher Supply hits the bin. Leyline of the Void. Faithless Looting's not a bad one. And there's another Vengevine.
It's pretty important here because Alvaro's plan to win in 2 turns is going to have trouble against 2 Vengevines and a large Carrion Feeder since you kind of have to commit all the Thopters. I mean, you could wait a turn, but that gives more time to Martin to develop a really large board.
Now, Müller can bring back that Vengevine, right? He can sacrifice the Gravecrawler to the Carrion Feeder and bring it back. And that may be what we're going to see happen right here because, of course, you'd rather a 4-3 than a 2-1 on attacks here.
Yeah, there's a Gravecrawler in the graveyard, but...
there's another one in the graveyard as well.
It is the second creature, so probably sacrifice Vengevine first before casting it, but okay.
Oh, right. Yeah, kind of missing out on an extra point of power there on the Carrion Feeder because it was going to come back anyway. Good point there. Good point there, Eduardo.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. I mean, again, we're not the ones in the hot seat here, but in they come. Once again, all offense, no defense, as Müller sends in the team, just that Carrion Feeder sticking back with the Gravecrawler.
And look how important Martin values that Carrion Feeder.
Yeah.
It doesn't even get into the red zone because it could die.
Yep, he doesn't want to trade it off here.
Or at least it would force a situation. Actually, okay, so the thing is, Alvaro has Nature's Claim.
Yeah.
Martin doesn't know about that.
No.
But Martin doesn't want Alvaro to generate too many tokens. That's why the Karen Feeder didn't get in there.
Right, because it was too big.
Yes.
Right. So here, the Hangerback Walker goes up to 5, is going to eat up that Vengevine. Bloodgast trades with the Thopterino there.
Pendelhaven should save the Thopter here.
Oh, that's very true. So it doesn't actually trade, of course. I knew that. Just making sure that you did it, Eduardo. Well done. You passed the test once again. Haven't missed a trick this weekend. I've been trying to wrong foot you, but oh no.
I try not to miss too many tricks. It does happen.
Every now and again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've missed a trick or two in your time, but hey, haven't we all? All right, off the top, Darksteel Citadel.
Blanks.
Blank.
It is an artifact, but that's pretty much it.
I mean, it's a way for him to just gain 4 life if he doesn't want to use the Nature's Claim for anything else.
That is true. In this spot, I mean, the card Alvaro wanted more than anything was Arcbound Ravager.
Yeah.
An Arcbound Ravager would pretty much end the game. Walking Ballista may not as much, although it would also be an absolutely exceptional card in this spot.
I like how Alvaro Fernandez Torres has kind of been playing a game of EDH in the fact that he's just always had his Hardened Scales in play.
Are you implying it's a commander?
I'm saying like it's his commander, right? His whole deck is built around this one card and he just always has it.
It's pretty good, yeah.
I mean,
wait
that's
a second.
it, right?
Commander doesn't have duplicates.
Oh,
You
no.
try to trick me there.
I got him again. All right, so Hangerback Walker as a 5/5 can grow to a 7/7 thanks to that Hardened Scales, as we said.
Okay, and now with the Hangerback Walker going potentially up to 7, that can be an attack on Martin Müller's life total while keeping back defenses up, which is really relevant because it allows Alvaro to kill in 2 turns, but without sacrificing the potential to stop Martin's future attacks.
All right, Müller now. Big army assembled, but isn't going to be enough. He can put a lot of power into the red zone here.
And by the way, disadvantage here for Alvaro being exactly at 10. You can't really fire that off that Nature's Claim pre-combat, so the Bloodghast returning will have haste if it does return.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
There is no land, though. There might be a... Let's see. What did Martin draw? A Blood Crypt. Okay, so there's a land. But that means that that Bloodghast will have haste. Martin might also decide to flashback looting, try to get closer to a Hogaak.
I mean, a Hogaak here would be obviously fantastic for Müller.
There's also the
Interesting
line...
decision point for him here.
Yeah, and there's also the line of Gravecrawler, Sacrifice, get back Vengevine, make that Carrion Feeder larger.
Yeah.
But again, the Carrion Feeder, from Martin's perspective, can't attack because he believes it would kill the Hangerback Walker.
Maybe he's changing his mind. Maybe he's changed his mind, dude, because here, look at this. Carrion Feeder picking up another couple of counters thanks to a Gravecrawler activation, or just one for now at least.
You might as well, though, make it large. Like, it's already large enough.
Yeah.
So you might as well try to make it lethal.
Just go seconds at the breakfast buffet.
Yeah,
Get
the second at the breakfast buffet,
real big.
its name is Engineered Explosives. Because
yeah.
that would kill all the Thopters.
That is true. That'd be a great draw for Müller here.
Especially next turn.
I tell you what, this is one of the most robust games of Magic I've ever seen where a player has mulligan to 5.
I've seen some great ones in my time.
I mean, this is up there though, right? This is in an upper percentile when it comes to mulligans to 5.
I love these games of Modern where essentially neither player is really that far ahead and you have to kind of grind it out. For me, this is peak awesome Modern.
Yeah, yeah. It says a lot about what the format can offer here. Now, a 10-10 Carrion Feeder.
Look at how great this deck is, and there's no Hogaak.
Yeah.
It's much more interesting this way.
Don't even need the Hogaak, exactly. Hogaak's just easy mode.
Yeah, we're playing medium mode.
We're playing, yeah, we've gone difficulty settings. We've gone from novice to intermediate. We've gone to journeyman here. All right, here they come. Carrion Feeder once again back on not blocking because it can't, but an attack for 10 or 12, excuse me, all the same.
Yeah, so here easy block on the Vengevine, easy block on either the Gravecrawler or the Bloodghast, but with one black up, definitely going to be a Bloodghast. And again, remember, Martin Müller does not know about Alvaro's Nature's Claim, and in this spot, I think Alvaro might fire it off. The Hangerback Walker is going to go up to 7. Firing that Nature's Claim up, that's going to be 8 Thopters. Remember, Pendelhaven will save that Thopter. It'll be 8. Then you can attack Martin Müller for 6, keep 2 Thopters back, plus the Inkmoth Nexus, and have Pendelhaven for next turn.
Yeah, all right. So kind of stitching together a game plan here across multiple terms is Alvaro Fernandez Torres.
Because remember, Martin is getting rid of cards. At some point, you have to do something, but there's also this line. Do nothing. Hope to draw Ravager if you do. Oh, okay. This is the decision point.
All right. Well, Pendelhaven tapped in addition to that Darksteel Citadel. Nope, thinks better of it. Okay. Back to the drawing board. Draws a card, finds Ancient Stirring.
That might be, apart from the card you're looking for, that's pretty close.
I mean, that's right. It's basically Demonic Tutor in decks like this. Well, some of the time anyway.
Animation Module.
All right.
That's actually probably one of the most interesting cards we could have seen. So if you're a viewer at home, this is the best card that could have happened. Obviously, Alvaro would much have preferred Arcbound Ravager in this spot. But Animation Module can do some crazy things in this deck.
It's so bomb. I mean, I don't. It's got so much text on it. I don't understand all the different applications of this card.
The best card with it is Llanowar Reborn. I mean, there's some fun. We don't have time on this broadcast to really go through everything Animation Module does, but we'll try to.
You could watch the extended version of Lord of the Rings before we'd finish talking about Animation Module here, if we were going to go through every one of its uses here.
Yeah. So again, because Animation Module can make the Hangerback Walker bigger, that'd be an additional counter. Then you can make a servo. There's not much more going on here because, well, that's just the nature of it. Right now, we don't have something like a Sacrifice Outlet or a Hardened Scales or a Llanowar Reborn, but it's still pretty potent. For 4 mana, making a 1/1, boosting the Hangerback Walker. That said, that would leave Alvaro with no mana. So we might see... Wait, Martin Müller is at 13. So we can add if we add a counter to Hangerback Walker, that would be 9. We can make a servo. Martin Müller may not have a blocker because a lot of those creatures don't block.
No,
so
of course they can't. Gravecrawler and Carrion Feeder.
9, 10, 11. We might be one off. But Alvaro is doing a very good defensive board.
All right, Fernandez Torres here, setting up shop and positioning himself in a more defensive posture here.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Martin Müller's attack... Martin Müller's not going to play around this Nature's Claim, I think. You really can't. It's a card you don't think's there. Like, look at Martin's gesture. He's like, what's the problem here? I could just attack. From Martin Müller's perspective, this is great. Because Martin believes, hey, well, my opponent didn't do anything. They have, what, 3 blockers, maybe 4 with that Animation Module. If I get Vengevines and a bunch of stuff, that should be enough. So I think it's okay. But just in case, start with flashbacking the Looting from the Graveyard. There's a ton of grade 1 mana spells in the deck.
All right, off the top, Leyline of the Void and double Leyline of the Void. Okay.
Well, there's a cost adding that card to your deck.
Yucko. Yeah, that's not. That's a pair of real stinking draws there for Martin Müller.
By the way, Martin could decide to keep one of those since casting it would force action from Alvaro. Because at that point, the Hangerback Walker would just not do much. This is one of the matchups where hard casting Leyline of the Void is probably at its best.
Yeah, it actually might do something relevant for sure. But well, in any case, both of them get bin. Müller holds on to a faithless looting there.
By the way, you notice that Martin didn't keep red mana untapped?
Yeah.
That's simply because there's way more single green cards that are relevant in the deck.
Right, yeah, in case he draws one of them with faithless looting. So deliberate choice there from Müller.
Yeah. Actually, looking at the deck, there may not be tons of those. That might have... Okay.
I mean, he's got his own Nature's Claims.
Well, yeah, but it's already in the graveyard,
okay,
so
well.
maybe the red mana was better in the spot, unless there's Thoughtseize.
Well, big attacks now. All offense, no defense. Get it done. Maths is for nerds. We're just going to ship and see what happens here. Martin Müller channeling that frozen fury of the Scandinavian people and getting busy with the team. Fernandez Torres, of course, still sitting on that Nature's Claim, correct?
Yeah, and it's a really,
I think
really important
I think it's going to be a real blowout here. Hold on to your hats, my friends. Make sure you can head down to the tornado basements because we're going to have a blowout.
Yeah, and
we're going to have a blowout.
So for this combat step, from Martin Müller's perspective, Alvaro can add a counter to Hangerback Walker, then makes a servo. You can animate as but that would require a tap, since after all, with free mana, Animation Module can do it. But then you're out of mana to activate Inkmoth Nexus. So this would allow Martin to get in there for 2 damage, which Martin might go, you know what, that's good enough with what I've got. But I think this might end a lot in Alvaro's seat, because is he going for Nature's Claim in this spot? Yeah,
yep,
it makes...
Yep, activation of the Hangerback Walker, and of course, that's going to make a servo thanks to the Animation Module. And now with another green mana, here is that Nature's Claim. Gain 4. Put 9 Thopters into play. That's huge, Eduardo.
Yeah, this is what Alvaro's been going for.
It's what he's been playing all along.
Yeah, and this is going to be a 2-turn clock if Alvaro draws an absolute blank.
What an incredible Xanatos Gambit this was. He has been planning this one for a long, long time, my friends. And finally, the threads have come together. A massive big board.
Yeah, and here we're going to see Servo on Carrion Feeder, Thopter on Vengevine, since that's a lot of damage. And then the Gravecrawlers, because of Carrion Feeder, may be blocked or not.
I mean, they come back regardless, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here it is. Big block step now here for Fernandez Torres, at least one of the Gravecrawlers is going to be blocked. The Vengevine seems to be getting through uncontained.
That seems kind of strange to me, since at least one Gravecrawler could be recast, since Martin has access to black mana in this spot, and it is more damage.
Okay, well, Pendelhaven there. Pumps up the Thopter,
Oh,
make
yeah,
sure
right.
it will survive.
Because of Pendelhaven to survive the Thopter. So Alvaro taking the maximum amount of damage to have the largest possible board, since Martin shouldn't have any direct damage.
All right, is there a way for him to win next turn in the air here?
He's got, shouldn't, doesn't.
He's got 10 Thopters. His opponent is on 13. What can he do?
Draw an Arcbound Ravager or Walking Bullets. That'd be a good start.
All right, off the top, what's he found? It's a modular creature, but a different one.
Arcbound Worker we haven't seen in a while, but it's going to be really good with Animation Module and allow Alvaro to survive even against something like an Engineered Explosives.
Yeah, right. Give him another way to diversify those converted mana costs. Now, Torres counting up how many of these little Thopters he wants to send into the red zone. Looks like it's going to be 6.
At least 6. 6 is definitely the first number I'd go for.
Maybe 5.
Because it allows an attack, and you have way more than enough blockers between Arcbound Worker and this, so I think Alvaro could be a bit more frisky here with the Thopters. I think 5 is a little low.
5 a little low. Well, looks like 5 is what he's flirting with here.
Yeah, he's been worried about Bloodghast plus Vengevine returning, but between Arcbound Worker, Animation Module, should be fine. Arcbound Worker with Animation Module would essentially have 2 servos. Sorry. One servo come into play for 2 mana plus the 1/1, and then you have the mana.
Hang on. He can activate the Animation Module for 3 and put 2 counters on a servo, right? And then use Pendelhaven on another one. Did he just miss lethal?
Animation Module doesn't add counters to something that doesn't
already have counters.
I know the card is in Spanish there, but we do have it in English.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, it's like a mini proliferate effect. Okay,
yeah,
right.
you have to choose the counter.
All right, so he didn't miss a trick there.
No.
All right. Okay.
Chat lethal.
It was exactly chat lethal.
lethal.
It was chat lethal for sure. But no, Animation Module does a weird little bit of rules text there, but ultimately.
Oh, it's a great card. If you face Hardened Scales with that card, you're going to have a blast. Well, or they might have a blast, but you know.
A blast will be had by someone at least. Faithless Looting now from Martin Müller.
I love this dramatization draw.
Oh yeah, he's really taking his time with it, soaking up that limelight. There's a Hogaak.
That is very, very late to the party.
Very late, not even fashionably late. Like the host is packing up, they're sweeping chips off the kitchen floor when Hogaak said, "Oh hey, what's up? Did I miss the party?" Yeah, buddy, you did.
Yeah, missed the party for sure.
You did.
Yeah, Martin was looking for interaction, not Hogaak. And in this spot, I mean, Alvaro has a ton of attackers.
Yep, all of them. I mean, going straight over the heads of Muller's cards on the ground, none of which can really block outside of that Vengevine. So
also, Arcbound Worker is a great blocker. When it dies, putting counters triggers the Animation Module. It's +1 because of Hardened Scales. It's a lot of good stuff.
So it's a great blocker, ready to be thrown under that bus here. So Faithless Looting discards Hogaak and a Leyline of the Void in hand now for Müller. The lonely Faithless Looting as this one slips further and further from his grip here. Can the Dane maneuver himself back into an advantageous position? It's going to be a long uphill battle here for him. He needs something like an Engineered Explosives. He needs something that's going to clear out all of these flying attackers.
But without a card in hand, the looting in hand just mills 2. The flashback looting, not going to do enough because you have no mana.
So no way to activate it, even if you did find the EE here. So rough stuff for Martin Müller. An attack for 6 now.
It might be casting the Hogaak.
Oh no, casting the Hogaak from the bin. Okay, all right.
Since after all, it's the first creature, so Carrion Feeder may sacrifice here Vengevine and Gravecrawler.
Yep, bring it back again one more time. But is it going to be enough? I mean, Müller's playing it out to the bitter end. Here is the Arisen Necropolis, Hogaak, the 8/8 Trampler.
Yeah, it would have been extremely relevant in this game. Even last turn, it would have been quite relevant since it would have made Alvaro's blocks much more difficult. Alvaro maybe wouldn't have been able to really have such a large attack.
Bring back a Gravecrawler, trigger the Vengevines. Both of them come back as well.
Looks impressive, but I don't think it's enough.
You can see here Fernandez Torres thanking his lucky stars. He kept so many blockers back. I mean, he can block in any number of ways that's going to forestall a defeat for him here.
Yeah, but here, Animation Module, add a counter on Arcbound Worker.
Make it a 5/5 here. Oh, no, sorry, a 4/4, excuse me.
Yep, make a servo, Then you can block the Vengevine. It's going to die. You move the counters over to a Fopter. That's going to be a large lethal Fopter, and I think that's going to do it.
That's it. That should be enough here. Martin Müller, I mean, Fernandez Torres could draw an actual, literal slice of ham from the top of his deck and still have Martin Müller on the ropes here. Fernandez Torres poised now to make his way into the semi-final here. He lines up the blocks. Thopter on Gravecrawler, Servo on Vengevine, an Arcbound Worker on the Vengevine, but with this mighty flying army here, Eduardo, this one should be going the way of the Spaniard on home soil.
Yeah, as long as Alvaro attacks with enough power to just kill Martin Müller, which, let's be honest, I'd be shocked if it didn't happen.
I mean, yeah, F6ing through the combat step, not really something that happens here, and it's not going to happen right now as we see Alvaro Fernandez Torres take out our last quarterfinal. He is a semi-finalist here at Mythic Championship Barcelona. What an impressive performance from him. Of course, commiserations to Martin Müller, who dug in very deep after an unfortunate mulligan there, Eduardo. But ultimately, a very impressive performance, a real clinic on what Hardened Scales is capable of.
Yeah, and I really like that game in particular because without Arcbound Ravager or Walking Ballista, like the Hardened Scales deck was doing okay, but it was kind of operating like it flooded. And then there wasn't a Hogaak in front, so it was kind of this grindy game of, okay, we both have kind of nothing. How do we navigate this?
Plan B, right? Yeah, exactly. Well, at the end of the day, the chips fell the way of the Spaniards, so congratulations to Alvaro, who we will see, of course, in the semi-finals. That is just about that for our quarters, my friends. We're going to take a quick break, line up what's next for as we head towards the semi, so stick with us. We'll be back here live from Barcelona after this.